I want you to picture two households. Same suburb, same street, actually. They are 4 houses apart. Both families are 45 years old. Both couples have been working for about 20 years. Both own homes with mortgages. Both drive reasonable cars. Both have kids in middle school. From the outside, from the sidewalk, from the neighborhood barbecue, from a quick glance at their lives, they look almost identical. Same life stage, same general circumstances, same American story. The first couple, let's call them Kevin and Dana. Kevin is an operations manager at a regional logistics company. Dana works part-time in healthcare administration. Together, they earn around $115,000 a year. They have a 401k Kevin has been contributing to for 2 decades, a home they bought in 2014, no credit card debt, and a small brokerage account Dana started during the pandemic. They don't feel wealthy. Their house needs a new roof, their car has 90,000 miles on it. They worry about college tuition constantly and without a clear plan. But they are, by almost every financial metric, quietly ahead of the curve. The second household, Ray and Michelle. Together they pull in around $120,000 in a good year, slightly more than Kevin and Dana. They have a beautiful kitchen they renovated for $38,000, financed through a home equity line of credit. Their 401k has about $40,000 in it, despite 2 decades in the workforce. The default contribution rate was always 3%, and neither of them ever thought to change it. They carry around $18,000 in credit card debt from the kitchen, a family vacation, medical expenses, and several years of smaller charges that just never got paid down entirely. They feel financially normal. Their neighbors think they are doing great. Ray genuinely believes, if asked at a dinner party, that they are probably around average. He is not wrong about being average. He is very wrong about what average actually means. Kevin and Dana's net worth is approximately $380,000. Ray and Michelle's net worth is approximately $94,000. Same street, same life stage, same income bracket. A $286,000 gap, built not over one dramatic decision, but over 20 years of slightly different defaults. This isn't a story about who works harder. This is a story about what the number actually is for the average 45-year-old in America, and what you can specifically do with the information once you have it. Let me start with a concept that will reframe how you think about net worth at 45 for the rest of your life. 45 is not the middle of your financial story. Most people treat it that way, but 45 is actually the hinge. The decisions you make in the next 10 years will have more impact on your retirement security than almost anything you did in the previous 20. A dollar invested at 45 has 20 years to grow before the average retirement age of 65. A dollar invested at 25 had 40 years. The time horizon is compressed, but it is not gone. This is the decade of peak household income, declining child-related costs, and the longest runway of mortgage equity accumulated so far. The households that dramatically improve between 45 and 55 are not the ones who earned the most in their 20s. They are the ones who looked at the actual number at 45 and made intentional decisions for the next 10 years. Most people don't use the hinge decade, largely because they don't know what the number is, and without the number, there is no urgency. The first thing you need to understand is what the data actually shows, and why the average figure you may have seen is almost completely misleading without context. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the mean net worth for households between 45 and 54 is approximately $975,000. When you hear it, your instinct is probably one of 2 things: quiet relief because you are above it, or quiet panic because you are nowhere close. Here is why neither reaction is appropriate. The mean is brutally distorted by the ultra-wealthy, A small number of households worth $20 million or more pulls the arithmetic average upward in a way that makes it useless as a benchmark. The number that actually tells you where the typical household stands is the median. Half of households have more, half have less. The median net worth for Americans aged 45 to 54 is approximately $168,000 to $180,000, not $975,000. $168,000. The gap between $975,000 and $168,000 is a portrait of wealth concentration so extreme that the average number literally tells you almost nothing about the life of a typical American. Home-owning households at 45 have a median net worth roughly 7 to 10 times higher than renting households at the same age. That is not a typo. A 45-year-old renter with the same income, the same spending habits, and the same investment behavior has a dramatically different number simply because they lack the equity asset. The median net worth figures vary dramatically by race and education level, reflecting decades of structural difference in access to homeownership, credit, and wealth-building opportunity. The median of $168,000 is itself an average of very different distributions. Where your net worth comes from at 45 is almost as important as how much it is. The second thing is what net worth at 45 is actually made of for most households, and what each component tells you about the next decade. Home equity represents 40% to 60% of total net worth. Retirement accounts represent 20% to 35%. Financial assets outside retirement represent roughly 10% to 20%. Home equity is real wealth, but home equity is largely illiquid. You cannot spend it at retirement without selling the house, downsizing, a reverse mortgage, or a HELOC, all of which carry costs. Retirement accounts are the actual engine of retirement income. They are liquid, investable, compound generating. And for the median American at 45, the retirement account balance is significantly inadequate. Fidelity suggests that by age 45, you should have approximately 7 to 8 times your annual salary saved in retirement accounts. On a $100,000 household income, that is $700,000 to $800,000. The median American household at 45 has between $100,000 and $130,000 in total retirement savings. The gap between the benchmark and the reality is the defining financial challenge of the American middle class. I am not done yet. That discomfort is the point. The discomfort is useful because it creates the urgency that the Hinge decade requires. The third thing you need to understand is the debt picture at 45, because net worth without debt context is a number that can lie to you in ways that matter. Most people in their 40s believe they carry less debt than younger generations. The Federal Reserve data complicates this. The 45 to 54 age group carries some of the highest total household debt loads of any cohort. 3 simultaneous debt forces: mortgage debt still substantial into a 30-year loan, auto loans, and credit card balances that grow, not shrink, during prime earning years. The average credit card balance for the 45 to 54 range is approximately $9,000 to $10,000. At 21% APR, that costs approximately $1,900 to $2,100 per year in interest. In the decade where compound returns matter most, high-interest consumer debt is the most expensive thing most people carry. It is a slow leak in a boat you are trying to sail across an ocean. Parent Plus loans taken on to fund children's college educations are a growing and underappreciated drag on retirement savings during the exact decade when the most catch-up investing is possible. If you have taken on education debt for your children, that obligation is not separate from your retirement problem. It is part of it. The fourth thing you need to understand is the specific levers at 45, the concrete, high-impact financial moves that produce the most change in net worth trajectory at this exact stage. Most people think the primary lever at 45 is earning more. It is not. The three highest leverage moves are debt elimination, savings rate increase, and sequence optimization. Debt elimination means eliminating high-interest consumer debt first, unconditionally, not aggressively prepaying your mortgage at the expense of retirement contributions. Every $10,000 in credit card debt eliminated at 45 is, over a 20-year horizon, worth roughly $46,000 in avoided interest and redirected investment opportunity cost. A $9,000 credit card balance paid off in 12 months frees up $1,900 per year that can be invested. Over 20 years at 8%, that $1,900 per year becomes approximately $94,000. Increasing your 401k contribution by 3 percentage points on a $100,000 salary is $3,000 per year. Compounded over 20 years at 8%, that 3% decision produces approximately $148,000 at retirement. 3%, $148,000, from a single decision executed once on an HR portal that took 15 minutes. Sequence optimization. First, eliminate debt above 10% APR. Second, capture the full 401k employer match. Third, fund a Roth IRA if income allows. Fourth, return to the 401k and push toward the annual limit. Fifth, if additional savings remain, use a taxable brokerage. Following this order for 10 years produces dramatically better outcomes. The fifth thing you need to understand is the home equity question, and why most people at 45 are managing it in a way that is subtly working against them. Most people treat their home equity as a retirement safety net. In a narrow sense, this is true. Downsizing at 65 does unlock capital. Transaction costs of selling and buying typically consume 8% to 12% of the home's value. On a $400,000 home, that is $32,000 to $48,000 in friction costs before you access any of the equity. Translation: home equity does not compound the way invested assets compound. U.S. residential real estate historically appreciates at roughly 1 to 2% per year in real terms. A stock index fund has historically delivered 6 to 8%. Researchers call it the equity-rich retirement poor profile. The house has appreciated, the net worth number looks reasonable, but the retirement account is severely underfunded. On paper, the household looks fine. In practice, at 65, they have $150,000 in liquid retirement savings and $300,000 in home equity they can access only by selling. The question worth asking is not, do I have enough net worth? It is, what is the composition of my net worth? And is it positioned to support the retirement I actually want? Redirecting cash flow from extra mortgage payments toward liquid retirement savings produces dramatically better compounding outcomes over 20 years. Now, let's talk about what you specifically do with all of this, because a diagnosis without a prescription is just anxiety dressed up as information. This week, calculate your actual net worth, not the approximate version in your head, the real version on paper. Assets minus liabilities equals your actual net worth. Write it down on a piece of paper. Date it. Compare it honestly to the national median of $168,000 to $180,000. The answers are your coordinate. Is most of your net worth in home equity or in liquid invested assets? You need to know where you are before you can make decisions about where to go. This month, target your most expensive debt. Calculate the exact annual interest cost. Build a specific payoff plan with a monthly payment amount and a payoff date. If eliminating that debt requires redirecting $400 or $500 per month from discretionary spending, the math is almost certainly in favor of making that trade. This quarter, log into your 401k portal and increase your contribution rate. If you are at 5%, go to 8%. If you are at 8%, go to 11%. If you are 50 or older, check whether you are using the catch-up contribution allowance, an additional $7,500 per year on top of the standard limit. This video is for educational purposes, not financial advice. Please work with a qualified financial professional to build a strategy specific to your situation. Now back to Kevin and Dana and Ray and Michelle. The $286,000 gap accumulated over 20 years of slightly different defaults, so ordinary that neither household could fully reconstruct them if you asked. Kevin enrolled in his 401k at 8% on day one because the HR packet defaulted to that rate, and he clicked confirm without overthinking it. One of the best financial decisions of his life, made by not really making a decision at all. Dana opened the brokerage account on a Sunday afternoon after watching one video, transferred $200 to start, set up $150 per month automatic, and genuinely forgot about it for 2 years. These were not the product of superior discipline or financial genius. They were slightly better defaults, made mostly by chance, compounded by time. Ray's 401k default was 3%. And he never changed it because he never really thought about it. The dial stayed at 3% for 20 years. In lean years, they relied on the credit card. In good years, the balance came down, but never reached zero. None of these were reckless decisions. All of them were slightly more expensive defaults, compounded over 20 years. The virtuous cycle and the destructive cycle. Neither one announces itself. Neither one feels dramatic from the inside. Both look from day to day like ordinary financial life. At 45, the hinge is still open. 20 years at 8% turns $150,000 into $700,000 without a single additional contribution. 20 years of $2,000 per month becomes over $1.1 million. The choice is whether you look at the actual number, your actual number, and use what you find to make slightly better defaults for the next decade. Slightly better defaults, held for 10 years. That is the entire gap. That has always been the entire gap. The number, $168,000, is not a target. It is a coordinate. If you are above it, good. If you are below it, that is not a verdict. It is a starting point. Whether the composition of your net worth, the retirement account slice versus the home equity slice, is proportioned in a way that actually supports the retirement you are imagining. The people who do the exercise, actual numbers, written down, dated, compared to a benchmark, with a specific plan attached, make materially different decisions in the following year. Financial self-awareness, knowing your actual numbers, is one of the strongest predictors of financial behavior change. Not income, not education, not age. Knowing the number. You now know the number. The median is $168,000. The benchmark is 7 to 8 times your salary. The most powerful action is increasing your retirement contribution rate by 3 percentage points this week. The hinge is still open. The decade is still yours. You already know what you need to do. You just needed the actual number to make it impossible to ignore.